Good afternoon, guys. Aradhya Gupta here from Internal Combustion, and today we are in conversation with Mr. Tarun Thakral. He is the founder and owner of the Transport Museum, the Heritage Transport Museum, which is located just ahead of Gurgaon, where we are currently standing. And it's going to be a very interesting conversation where he will be talking about his possession of approximately 85 vintage cars, which started with just procuring one car for a sum of about 5,000 rupees. And today he has built, I would say, one of the most magnificent museums in the country. Take a look, guys. But before we start the conversation, I would like you to have a quick walk around of approximately 1.5 to 2 minutes of the museum. Have a look, enjoy yourselves. So thank you so much, Tarun sir. I mean, finally we were able to pull out time, and
Thank you.
out of your busy schedule, you were able to pull out time. And thanks to Mr. Jatti for connecting
That's
me
right,
with you,
yeah.
actually. And I'd like to start talking to you by asking you, you being a professional hotelier, what made you come up with the idea of bringing this museum out to the people?
I was, if just a little rewind.
Sure.
I was out of the country pursuing my MBA in hotel management.
Okay.
And after 2 years, I did my MBA and then came back. I spent a year working in the US.
Okay.
And I came back in 93.
I see.
And that's the time I started appreciating the heritage of our country.
Okay.
Old things that were left by the British, old Havelis, old, anything that was old. That's what triggered my passion because I could see them lying in ruins.
Okay.
And on one such trip, that was in late 93, I was in a place called Ramgarh in Shekhawati region in Rajasthan, and I found a dilapidated 1932 Chevrolet. In fact, I'm just sitting... the car that's behind me.
Okay.
This was lying in a dilapidated condition.
Okay.
And something in me, said that let me just acquire it. So for a princely sum of 5,000 rupees, I bought this, got it to Delhi, and started restoring it with the help of professional people.
Okay.
And within a year, it was like giving life or rebirth to an automobile, and that's what triggered the entire passion of collecting cars.
Okay.
So it started with cars, and after 10 years, I had a collection of about 60, 70 of them.
Your own cars?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I got bored with cars. So then I said, okay, let me get into other modes of transportation.
Okay.
So then the carriages, carts, everything to do with transport, or how people of India moved. Or had moved. That's what... so suddenly I had this huge big collection and I didn't know what to do with it.
And where to keep it?
Yeah. So I built a shed in Gurgaon, and I was still thinking, because I was spending a lot of money from my pocket maintaining the collection. These are not small objects that you put it in a wardrobe and close it.
Sure.
So I needed people, I needed the cars to be functional. So then I thought, let me just try and look at the option of a museum. So I did travel again to UK, to the US, saw a couple of museums there.
Okay.
And then came back and then said, okay, India doesn't have a transport museum, so let's open a transport museum.
Okay.
That's
wow.
how.
So, I mean, I didn't know this. All these are your own cars?
Yeah, all my cars, with the exception of maybe 10% of them.
Okay.
Now, where people have loaned their cars or people have donated the cars to the museum.
Okay.
But 90% of the cars are mine.
And what about the carriages and the trains
They're all
that
mine.
you have?
They're all mine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling. So, I mean, if I may ask, how was the restoration process for you? Was it tedious? I'm sure you would have your own set of challenges, and there would have been a tipping point for you also mentally that, yeah, enough is enough. Ab nahi hota. What drive me through that?
The advantage that I had was I had a small setup in the US.
Okay.
Predominantly, I was keen on American cars. They came in cheaper.
Okay.
They were easy to restore because I used to buy parts on eBay.
Okay.
And also, go to various fairs.
Okay.
That happened in the US. I used to make my journeys when the fairs were.
I see.
So I used to buy all the parts and then load it in the suitcases and keep bringing the parts back, so that the cars got back onto the road much earlier.
Okay.
Than otherwise, we are struggling with jugaad. Okay, ये नहीं चल रहा है, इसको change कर दो, इसको. So we didn't do all that.
Okay.
So we got the original parts from there, and that's how the cars started moving.
Because from what I remember, I mean, I have spoken similarly, like I'm talking to you right now. I spoke with Mr. Jatti also.
Right.
And and before that, I spoke with Mr. Sameer Rangwala also. He happens to be my friend's father.
Okay.
So he has a Rolls, I think, from 1920s. So, I mean, he was mentioning that just for this one car also, thankfully, we were able to get all the parts boxed and nothing too much of hard work was to be done. But even that took over a year and a half to 2 years to do. So I can't even imagine that, with these 60, 70 cars that you have of your own, what would the journey would have been like?
It's been exciting to say, but it's been also, and once you know the people out there who are selling old car parts, then you're in touch with them on the emails and on messages that this is what I need. So they look up for you, and when you go, then it's easier to consolidate at a place and then bring it back.
A little, on the personal side, did it affect your relationship with your spouse? This entire journey?
The reason for success was I got married very late in life.
I see.
So I could spend all my monies on building this collection.
Okay.
So we got married in 2002.
Okay.
So that was 8-10 years after I actually built this collection. And when I got married, the collection was already there.
Perfect.
And she was from the US, so she was the one who was helping me get the parts.
Is that why? That's why you married her?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's I mean, I think at the end of it, she did get got fed up that
I'm sure
my entire devotion, dedication is towards the cars. But still, we pulled it along.
So, looking at the current collection of cars, I wanted to ask you that, do you still consider, if at all you find another model that is not currently existing in your collection, are you still on the lookout for other models?
You know what? I've taken slightly a back seat at the moment. Number one, because today people have started loaning their cars. My basic idea of this museum is that things should keep moving. If today you see this Chrysler there, tomorrow if somebody else loans a car to the museum, then this will move out. Part of my collection will move out.
Okay.
Because we want to show to the visitors different vehicles all the time.
So when you say loaning cars, could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Okay, it's like we have a Rolls-Royce currently, which is on loan. We maintain the cars.
Okay.
There is no remuneration or anything paid to the person who's loaned it.
Okay.
We just look after the car while it is here.
I see.
And for them, it becomes an interesting thing that it's in an environment. It's in an air-conditioned environment.
Yeah.
and people are appreciating their cars.
Okay.
So it works for both.
So you don't have to give them anything in return?
No, nothing. We just put the label that this car belongs to so-and-so.
Oh, lovely.
And it's on a loan.
Okay.
But that's what typical museums do world over. Understood. In India, we are very possessive about our possessions.
Right.
Many of us do not wish to loan our cars.
Okay.
Primarily because we don't know how the other person will look after it. Mm-hmm. Secondly, what about insurance? Mm-hmm. What if somebody comes and just scratches the car? Mm-hmm. So there are issues, which are practical issues. So once people have, sent their cars and they've taken it back, they've realized that it's completely safe.
Understood. And I mean, any particular one that you really, really admire and you know that's really close to your heart, probably? I
mean, they all are, because they're all from, the struggle of procuring cars in India was not easy.
Okay.
I remember one distinct story. I'd gone to Bikaner. Somebody told me that, there are these two cars, 1947 Buick and a 1947 Chevrolet wood wagon.
Okay.
Which are there.
The wood wagon, which is
right
the
there.
One there. Yeah.
And the Buick is also behind.
Okay.
So go and have. So I reached there, and some dealer took me to a designated area where these cars were, and it turned out to be a goshala, a cow shed. Huh. So I kept wondering. I said, how have the cars reached this cow shed? Where all you could see were cows all over the place. Huh. So I asked the guy, I said, "Aapke paas aayi kahan se gaadi? Where did you get them from?" He said there was a local zamindar to whom we used to supply milk.
Okay.
And he went through bad times. So he was unable to pay the milk bill. So he said, "These cars are lying here, you take them." And he signed the papers and he says, "These cars are given to you in lieu of the milk bill." And he had nothing to do with cars. So that's how I was able to acquire from him.
I must say, I mean, you've got a pretty steal deal. And do you also believe that these cars, considering their value today and considering the value at which you bought them back then, do you think they have actually ended up generating wealth for you?
I've never looked at it like that. Okay. Because for me, whether I bought a car for 5,000 rupees or 25,000 rupees, and whatever their values may be, today they are housed in this museum, where they are being appreciated by a number of visitors. I think the value is there. It's not that I've never sold anything that I've bought. So they've all been here, and they're like my babies. So I rather you never sell your babies, do you?
You're actually living like almost all of us boys that are sitting here, we've actually dreamt of, owning. I honestly didn't know these are all your cars. I mean, my friend was just asking me right now कि भैया ये सारी गाड़ियाँ इनकी है? मैं कहा यार पता नहीं, मेरे को लगता तो नहीं है. So but then, I mean, you're living like a boy's dream.
All of us, at some stage or the other go a little crazy. That's why you could build a collection like this.
Sure.
And if you start thinking that ये इतने पैसे लग रहे हैं, or you're spending so much of money, then you can never build a collection. So I mean, it happened. Today, I mean, if you ask me, go back 20 years or 30 years and think whether you'd still do it, I don't know. But I think when you are in that stage and that phase of your life, I was able to do it, and I'm fortunate that I was able to do it.
I think this kind of a decision, it's a matter of minutes that you just decide one day, like you said, that day when you picked up the Chevy, you just decided कि यार करना है. And that's where one became 70 or 80 or probably more than that. So tell me one thing, uncle, that I hope you don't mind me calling you uncle.
That's fine.
So tell me one thing, that although this is called a heritage transport museum, but I am very sure, looking the collection of cars, because we are all enthusiasts here, I'm sure that there's much more than just communicating the heritage of the transport in India that you're trying to communicate. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what exactly are you trying to communicate out?
When we started building the museum, it was meant to inspire youngsters. Not only from a collection point of view, not from a history point of view, but the entire journey of how things were at a particular point in time.
Right.
Because if the museum is able to inspire youngsters, we don't know whether that youngster today is becoming a scientist tomorrow or becoming a space astronaut. We don't know that. But if he takes back some inspiration from here, I think our job as educators is done, Also, it's traveling back memory lane. So even when I look at elders who come here, they start narrating stories. It brings back memories to them about when they were young. ये गाड़ी होती थी, ये हम शिमला जाया करते थे, उसका इंजन गर्म हो जाता था, we used to stop, पानी डालते थे हम. So there are so many stories that people tell me. There was one elderly gentleman who said, I could never afford cars in my life. I had scooters. And I saw the Lambretta scooter, which was there with me. But my neighbor was a rich guy, and he had a vehicle. And we used to always admire his vehicle. So that whole story came back to life about, when he was young. So this museum probably is much more than just the display of cars. It is much more than just a display of transport. It's a story of India, how people traveled at a particular point in time, how things were in India. And we've tried to incorporate, old memorabilia, things associated with those times to make it a little more exciting for people.
Do you think it has been able to, or you've been able to get the footfall that you were expecting in the museum?
The museum is a little far off, but when we opened, we knew that this is going to be a distance for most of the people. Having said that, and in the last 10 years of our existence, we have crossed 2 million visitors, already. Then to sustain us, what do we do to sustain ourselves? Because it's very difficult if you don't get grants. So to sustain it from ticketing or, so we have a lot of events at the museum. We have beautiful gardens, three acres of gardens. So we do events there and make sure that the people see the museum. Family days, corporate events, dealer meets. We've done a lot of those. So that has actually helped us balance the footfalls. Not only people come here for events, they also see the museum. And a lot of schools come in. Virtually, weekdays are full of schools. We also rent out the museum for shoots. For film shoots, for music video shoots, for clothing shoots. That also gives us a lot of revenue. So I'm very happy with the way we've progressed it in the last 10 years. And you'll be happy to know we are the only museum in the country which churns out a little bit of profit every year.
Wow. So my next question is that I'm sure, owning these cars is one thing, but I'm sure you're doing a lot to ensure that the health of these cars is retained. So can you walk me through the process?
Yeah. So when the museum was open, we have a team of 3 people who are totally dedicated to the cars. So once every week, there's one car is designated to be taken out. And have a small ride, and then it comes back. We do take out the batteries and all that. We don't leave the batteries inside, and we drain out the fuel also. Because otherwise, unnecessarily, the rust catches on. So there's an entire schedule that is made for all the vehicles, and if there are any minor hiccups in the vehicles, then they are rectified at that time.
And this is, you said changing the fuel, draining out the fuel, all that is in once a week for every car?
Once a week. But no, the turn comes for that car virtually after...
I see.
After almost 8 months or 6 months.
Understood. Understood.